The idea of humanity building a city on the moon once belonged purely to science fiction, a distant dream painted in silver domes and endless star fields. But today, that vision is no longer confined to imagination. It's being engineered, calculated, and quietly assembled piece by piece. And at the center of it all stands SpaceX, a company that has already redefined what it means to reach space, and now aims to redefine what it means to live there. It begins with a simple but staggering premise. Getting there is no longer the hardest part. For decades, space travel was defined by limitation. Rockets were disposable, missions were rare, and every launch cost an astronomical sum. The moon, despite being just 3 days away, remained untouched by human presence after the Apollo missions ended. But SpaceX changed the equation. The development of reusable rockets, first with Falcon 9 and now with Starship, has dramatically lowered the cost of reaching orbit. And Starship, towering and fully reusable, is not just another rocket. It is the backbone of an entirely new space economy. Starship is designed to carry over 100 tons of cargo in a single trip, not just satellites or supplies, but entire habitats, machinery, vehicles, and infrastructure components. It is, in essence, a cargo ship for interplanetary logistics. And for the moon, that changes everything. Because building a city on the moon isn't about sending a few astronauts. It's about sending everything they need to survive and then scaling it up. The first phase is reconnaissance and preparation. Before any permanent structure can be built, SpaceX and its partners must identify the right location. The leading candidate lies near the lunar South Pole, a region unlike the barren, sun-scorched landscapes typically associated with the moon. Here, deep craters hold water ice, a resource more valuable than gold in space. Water means drinking supply, oxygen production, and even rocket fuel through hydrogen extraction. It is the foundation of sustainability. But the South Pole presents its own challenges. Temperatures swing dramatically, terrain is uneven, and communication with Earth can be inconsistent. So the first missions will likely be robotic. Autonomous machines will land, survey, and begin preparing the ground. They will map the terrain in detail, test soil composition, and even begin early construction processes, all before a single human sets foot. Then comes the arrival of infrastructure. Starship missions will begin delivering modular habitats, prefabricated living units designed to be quickly assembled on the lunar surface. These habitats must do more than provide shelter. They must create an Earth-like environment in one of the most hostile places imaginable. That means shielding from radiation, maintaining pressure, regulating temperature, and recycling air and water continuously. Radiation is one of the greatest threats. Without Earth's magnetic field, the moon is constantly bombarded by cosmic rays and solar radiation. To counter this, early habitats may be buried beneath layers of lunar soil, known as regolith. Using robotic construction, thick protective coverings can be built, turning the moon's own surface into a natural shield. At the same time, energy systems must be established. Solar power is the most practical solution, especially near the South Pole where certain elevated areas receive near-constant sunlight. Vast arrays of solar panels will be deployed, connected to battery systems capable of storing energy through the long lunar nights. Reliable power isn't just a convenience, it's survival. And then, finally, humans arrive. The first crews won't be settlers in the traditional sense. They'll be engineers, scientists, and technicians tasked with assembling, testing, and expanding the initial base. Their days will be defined by precision and discipline. Every movement, every system check, every repair will carry weight, because on the moon, there is no room for error. But over time, the base grows. What begins as a small outpost gradually transforms into something more complex. Additional Starship missions bring more modules, more equipment, more people. Laboratories are established for research in physics, biology, and material science. Manufacturing units begin experimenting with in-situ resource utilization, using lunar materials to produce building components, tools, and even spare parts. This is where the vision begins to shift from survival to expansion. Instead of relying entirely on Earth, the moon base starts producing what it needs. 3D printers use regolith to create structural elements. Water extracted from ice deposits is purified and stored. Oxygen is generated for breathing and fuel. Slowly but steadily, dependence on Earth decreases. And with that independence comes the possibility of permanence. The base evolves into a settlement. Living quarters become more comfortable, designed not just for function, but for human well-being. Artificial lighting mimics Earth's day-night cycles. Recreation spaces are introduced. Communication systems improve, allowing near real-time interaction with Earth. What was once a harsh, temporary outpost begins to feel, at least in some ways, like a place people can truly live. But the challenges never disappear. Dust, for example, becomes a constant adversary. Lunar dust is incredibly fine and abrasive, capable of damaging equipment and posing health risks. Every airlock, every suit, every moving part must be designed to handle it. Then there's the psychological toll, living in isolation, in a confined environment, with Earth always visible, yet impossibly distant. These are not just engineering problems, they are human ones. And solving them is essential if the moon is to become more than just a scientific station. Because the ultimate goal isn't just a base, it's a city. A functioning, expanding, self-sustaining lunar city. In this vision, the moon becomes a hub, a stepping stone for deeper space exploration. Its lower gravity makes it an ideal launch point for missions to Mars and beyond. Fuel produced on the moon could power spacecraft heading further into the solar system. Industries could emerge, from mining rare materials to manufacturing in microgravity conditions impossible on Earth. And as the population grows, so does the complexity of life there. Transportation systems will be needed, pressurized rovers, possibly even rail-like networks connecting different parts of the settlement. Governance structures must be established, defining rules, responsibilities, and conflict resolution. Economic systems begin to take shape, driven by both necessity and opportunity. The moon, once silent and untouched, becomes active. Lights visible from orbit, structures casting shadows across the surface, human activity leaving a permanent mark. But perhaps the most profound change isn't physical, it's philosophical. For the first time in history, humanity would no longer be confined to a single world. A city on the moon represents more than technological achievement. It represents a shift in identity. We become a multi-planetary species, not in theory, but in reality. Our presence extends beyond Earth, reshaping how we see ourselves and our place in the universe. And yet, this vision is not guaranteed. It depends on countless variables: technical success, financial investment, international cooperation, and public support. It requires solving problems that have never been solved before, at a scale never attempted. It demands resilience, innovation, and a willingness to take risks that many would consider unimaginable. But if there's one thing SpaceX has demonstrated, it's that the impossible can become routine faster than anyone expects. Reusable rockets were once dismissed as unrealistic. Now they land themselves. Massive spacecraft like Starship were once conceptual. Now they stand on launch pads, undergoing testing and iteration at a relentless pace. The same philosophy applies to the moon. Build quickly, test aggressively, fail, learn, improve, repeat. Step by step, mission by mission, the pieces come together. And one day, perhaps sooner than we think, a Starship will descend onto the lunar surface not as a lone explorer, but as part of a steady stream of arrivals. Supplies, equipment, people, all contributing to something larger than any single mission. A city taking shape in the dust, a place where humanity begins again under a different sky. And when future generations look up at the moon, they may no longer see it as distant or unreachable.
They may see it as a place where people live, work, and build their lives, a second home glowing softly in the night. But that raises a question that goes beyond engineering and ambition. If we can build a city on the moon, what comes next? Because the moon is just the beginning. Would you live there if given the chance? Do you think humanity is ready to expand beyond Earth, or are we moving too fast into a future we don't fully understand? And what do you think the first true lunar city will look like? Let me know your thoughts, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of space exploration, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that explore the edge of what's possible.